said he was, disappointed in the season, and of course, everything that happened, but just winning 3 games. And he said his biggest disappointment is he thought they were going to be a better running team this year. And he said that's what they'd talked about in the offseason, go less passing and more running. And he said that hasn't happened. And he didn't want it all on his shoulders, but again, it kind of gets all on his shoulders, especially when you get behind.
3rd down and 4. Here's Brooks. Through the hands of Devery Henderson. Saints next week. It's Carolina. That game's going to be in Baton Rouge, so they're still on the road, and then they go back to San Antonio tonight. Then they go to Baton Rouge for the game. Then they have Detroit Christmas Eve, and that game is in San Antonio.
Did you ever figure out how the New York Giants in New York was a home game?
No, and neither did the Saints, and that's why they began the year really flipped off, I got to tell you. They're still grumbling about that. And that is caught. And that's Zach Hilton hit by D'Angelo Hall.
D'Angelo Hall's still out there playing it. That's what I said about Zach Hilton. I mean, he's going to be a big target for a quarterback. The big 6'8" tight end. But he's also going to be a big target for those defenders. And he is going to take some hits. Long-legged guys like that are always going to take some vicious hits. And he can't eat enough to get big enough, and if he can't get big enough, he's never going to be a good
NFL fans, every week during the NFL season, tune in every Friday for another edition of NFL Seminole. Alvaro Martin and Raul Alegre give you a look ahead at what's to come. This week, it'll be a preview of Week 15 playoff positioning for all teams with a hunt for this postseason. NFL Seminole every Friday here on ESPN throughout the NFL season. 2:15 to play at the Georgia Dome. We'll send you back out there for the Saints and the Falcons with Atlanta in control.
Punts and grabs, the football away from the guy, and I mean, he just played a complete football game. So better make this tackle up.
Not only that, he was trying to take the ball away, and that would have cemented a spot on the trailer. He started out with an aloha, politicking for Hawaii, and winds up on the horse trailer.
And he probably deserves an aloha.
He does.
I think he'll get an aloha.
He may. You might see him in Honolulu. 2-minute warning.
قريبنا منكم.
At the 2-minute warning, Monday Night Football, ESPN's edition, the 36-17 lead for the Falcons appears safe at home at the Georgia Dome. Falcons would go to 8-5 if they close out this victory and pull back within a game of Tampa Bay and Carolina, who are leading the division at 9-4. Sunday Night Football for Week 15. These Falcons will go to Chicago to take on the Bears. Bears going to be pretty ornery after losing an 8-game winning streak with a loss this past weekend. And, of course, the Falcons have a whole lot to play for as well as they're trying to lock up a playoff berth. Packers won't be going to the playoffs this year, first losing season since 1991, but Brett Favre loves the primetime spotlight. Packers will be going against that tough Ravens defense. Check the time in your area of the world for your next edition of Monday Night Football. That is 1 week from tonight. Well, the Saints have it. They are down 36-17 in Atlanta. We will send you back out for the final 2 minutes at the Georgia Dome.
It was unbelievable. That was something you didn't even believe you had. seen that.
I know watching that on television, I thought the same. I don't believe I'm seeing it.
And that's dropped. And you know, John, that catch in the Giants game from '87 was during the strike. That guy was one of the strike players. You know, had never played in a professional football game. And was he the guy? There was a guy who was asleep at the end of the game on the bench, dead asleep. Because remember they hired all these guys to come in and play.
I do remember that. Yeah, that wasn't him though, was it?
I can't remember. Well, in a couple of weeks, we'll be in the Meadowlands. Last game of the season. We'll go back and take a look at that again. 3rd down and 6 from the 44. And the Saints trying to mount one last march here. Joe Horn makes the catch.
Was the guy looking like that, you mean, at the end of the game?
Worse.
Oh, no, this guy's trying to open him up.
Yeah.
Man, that's what you call when your lids get heavy.
From the 19. Brooks. And Devery Henderson will make this catch with 1:23 remaining in the 4th quarter.
The Saints are finishing up this game the same way they finished up the first half. You know, again, the Falcons are playing the same defense. I mean, they're playing loose, they're playing zone, they're making them throw into coverage. And, you know, with a 36-17 lead and a minute left, it makes a lot more sense.
Antoine Smith to the 36-yard line.
I'll say this, though, Al, the Falcons' defense played a lot better the second half. When we talk about the Saints' offense, then you know, Jim Mora was talking about, you know, we make a play, then our defense doesn't hold momentum, and they didn't the first half. But I'll say this, in the second half, they did. Stepped it up, no question about that. A lot of people. Of course, the big story will be Michael Vick this week, and his condition after taking that shot coming out of the game again. Happened right there. McKinnon, and he stayed in for a couple of plays and then had to call a timeout and take himself out of the game. Ribs. And you know that thing, whether it's ribs or back up in that area, you know, you get a spasm in there, and that's what he looked like. He started to get a spasm here in the sideline, and then, you know, then that spasm has to get smaller and smaller, and then it eventually goes away. And it's tough to say how long that's going to be. From the 34, Brooks stepping up. And he takes a shot from behind by Patrick Kearney. His old college teammate. Yeah. Patrick Kearney said he learned to play like that, you know, just as a defensive lineman, running all over the field. And said he was a lacrosse player. And he said that's the way you played lacrosse. He said you just played and, you know, you just ran all over, and the guy went downfield, just went downfield and got him. They were captains together at Virginia. Patrick Kearney was a walk-on, and then he became a captain, and then he became a #1 draft choice. So that's sticking with something, isn't he? Went to prep school, and went to Virginia, walked on, became captain, became a #1 draft choice, and became a top NFL defensive end. Kearney last year with 13 sacks and a Pro Bowl spot. 37 seconds remaining. 19-point game. A lot of folks hoping the Falcons will cover the New Orleans offense here, but they already have. And Brooks will throw it to the end zone and try to hit the goalpost. Second down. You know, I don't understand this. I mean, and I've never understood it. I mean, when I played or when I coached or as a broadcaster, when the score is 36-17, 32 seconds, why not just run the clock out and go home? I mean, why play another play or two where, and you know, I mean, players are tired. It's the end of the thing. They don't have the same energy. They don't have, you know, the same anything. And, you know, if someone were to get hurt in this situation, you'd really feel like, you know, that was unnecessary.
Yeah, in a game like this, it's a 3-possession game. I can see it if it's a 2-possession game, if it's 16 points, yeah. You know, you try to score, and then you try to onside kick. But you're not going to get 3 scores in a half minute.
No, you're just prolonging the agony.
And it's exacerbated when it's 12:43 Tuesday. But in Hawaii, where you're going to play the Pro Bowl, it's only 7:43.
But I never understood this. I mean, I never understood, you know, what a coach is. You know, I know about quitting, and there's no quit in me, and, you know, I'll fight to the, and I know all those things. But at some point, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, when your beak is awry, that's when you know it's over. And it's over.
That'll wake him up.
Yeah, that'll do it.
We'll get under the guy's beak. No, it didn't. He didn't even flinch. Hey, wake up!
That is unbelievable.
So the Atlanta Falcons get the victory they need. They're within a game of first in the NFC South. They're 8-5. The Saints fall to 3-10. SportsCenter's coming up next for our Latin American audience. I'm Mark Brown. So long for now. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Final score from Atlanta. Falcons beat the Saints 36-17.
ESPN thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to EA Sports NFL Matchup. Sal Palantonio, you know Mel Hodge. Of course, this is Ron Jaworski. Can you guys believe it? It is Week 15. 3 games to go, and a whole lot of playoff spots still up for grabs.
Yeah, and the Indianapolis Colts are still undefeated. Tony, go for the record. Try to go for the undefeated season.
Like Tony cares what you say.
Yes, he does care. Yes, he does.
We have some very compelling and critical matchups this week, so let's get right to it. We begin in Minnesota with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week, Bill Cowher and the Steelers got up off the mat, steamrolled the Chicago Bears, but now they have to travel to Minnesota to the Dome to face the resurgent Minnesota Vikings and Mike Tice, led by the veteran quarterback Brad Johnson, who has won 6 straight.
My style's worked in every system I've been in. When I was here before, went to playoffs, and Washington, North Turner playoffs, Tony Dungy playoffs, John Gruden Super Bowl. I've done it in 4 different systems for 4 different coaches. East Coast, West Coast, Gulf Coast. I don't care. You either high to low, inside out, take care of the ball, make the plays that are there. I don't throw a 70-yard bomb. I throw a 45-yard bomb. I throw it right on stride. That's where I'm at in my game. And it takes protection. It takes me making the throw. It takes the receivers making the plays. We're winning ball games, and the end of story.
Jaws, that's some testy stuff from Brad Johnson. What do you think of that?
Oh, wait, Sal. That was so good, man.
You all right?
That is the essence of playing quarterback in the National Football League. You know, we hear the term field general. That's what I'm talking about when I'm thinking of Brad Johnson, a man in charge of that offense, and also a quarterback that understands the timing and rhythm of the passing game. And let me show you exactly what I mean. He knows knows how to get the ball out of his hand on time to his wide receiver so there's room to run after the catch. He knows there may be a potential defender running free at him, which there is here at Adam Archuleta. Watch the plant, Haji. Fifth step, ball out of his hand, unblocked defender coming after him. The ball gets out of his hand. This is a quarterback that understands the position and how to play. And here's the stat that I love this season. Only 1.1% of his passes intercepted. Judicious with the football.
I think Brad has been brilliant. He's going against a Steeler defense that makes you get rid of the football. And I believe the Steeler defense takes away the running game in this one. Now, I'm going to switch it to the Steeler offense just for a second. Ken Wisenhunt last week, I thought he did a magnificent job of play calling. Because they kind of fell into those double teams. They got the bus rolling. Now, this week, you know, the things that worked against Chicago where they ran downhill, I think are going to be harder this week because you got Kevin and Pat Williams, two defensive tackles that are outstanding at the point of attack. So I think the edge runs become a more effective run for them. I think Willie Parker could have a big game in this one because their edge players are not like their core players. So I would expect Pittsburgh to be able to run to the edges better, and Willie could have a big day.
All right, Haji, let's shift the matchup now to Washington. Last week, the Dallas Cowboys got tenderized by Larry Johnson in that Chiefs running attack. And this week, they face the Washington Redskins rushing attack, ranked 5th in the league. What's the matchup here?
That sounds very delicious, the way you presented that, Sal. When I looked at the Washington Redskins and Clinton Portis and his development and his growth, I have to compliment Ernest Biner, the running back coach for the Washington Redskins. You know, when you study Clinton Portis, the one thing that he likes as a runner, he likes quick hitters. So he likes to attack the line of scrimmage, get a block, and then hit it. What Ernest Biner has done with him is developed him as a back to be a little more patient. And they're starting to incorporate some more patient, strong side runs. And let me show you the patient, strong side runs that I'm talking about and how Washington goes about using their two tight ends and their motion to be effective in this run. Here the Washington Redskins are, two backs, two tight ends. Rams have 8 in the box. Now here's why the Redskins use a lot of motion, to create angles for their blockers. As the tight end comes across, now he has a good angle on the defensive end that's aligned right there. If he makes that seal block, which he does, the other tight end seals the linebacker. Now you get John Jansen, the right tackle, clean around the corner. And then like Vince Lombardi would say, we have an alley, my friends. If you get Clinton Portis in the open field, very few players, defensive backs, will able to tackle Clinton Portis. From the end zone, though, you're going to see how effective the motion is and why the motion is used. If you ask John Jansen, the tackle, to block that defensive end, very difficult block. That's why when you bring the motion, now you create the angle for yourself because of the motion. Your tight end can make that block much easier than your tackle can. You get the seal, you free up your tackle, you get the alley, you get Clinton Portis in the open field, and that's exactly how they've got to go about handling the Cowboys in this one. I still think, too, strong side runs here, but more weak side runs have to be a part of the Redskin running game.
Well, let me switch this around to the Dallas offense, because what I saw last week from that offense against Kansas City was an offense that finally opened it up a little bit. You know, they were trying to protect those two tackles, Rapatiti and Torrin Tucker. Against the Chiefs, I think Bill Parcells, Sean Payton said, hey, take the diapers off. You guys got to start playing all by yourself those one-on-one blocks. And they were very, very effective with the style of offense they used last week.
That's a great point, because the Redskins D has only given up 11 touchdown passes this year. If they don't give up the long ball to Drew Bledsoe, they will be in this game. Coming up, a lot more from EA Sports NFL matchup.
I think it's a real mark of this football team that you will fight and you will battle to the last ounce of strength you have and the last second on the clock.
Tonight on ESPN, golfers from the PGA, LPGA, and Champions Tour compete during live final round action from the Wendy's 3-Tour Challenge. Later, catch up on all the headlines of the day on SportsCenter. Finally, the NFL continues with live coverage as the Falcons take on the Bears. Wendy's 3-Tour Challenge, SportsCenter, and the Falcons and Bears, only on ESPN tonight. It's December in the NFL, and that means it's crunch time, and the great games continue. Michael Vick leads the charge into Chicago to take on the Growling Bears. Are you ready for some football? Falcons, Bears, live tonight. Packers, Ravens, live tomorrow. the NFL on ESPN, home of Super Bowl 40. EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by Madden NFL 2006, in stores now, and by IBM, helping companies innovate in an on-demand world.
We silence the critics for now. We silence the critics for now. I guarantee you it's going to be something else that they say why we not the real deal.
You got to love Chad Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Let's look at those Cincinnati Bengals on the doorstep of the playoffs for the first time in more than 10 years. Now, Carson Palmer has obviously provided a lot of Peyton Manning-like fireworks, but it has been Marvin Lewis, been the quiet man, like Tony Dungy, who has rebuilt that defense, Haji.
You know, so we got to remember, Marvin Lewis was the architect of the Baltimore Ravens in the year 2000, one of the greatest defenses the NFL has ever seen. So he knows how to bring along a defense. I think hiring Chuck Bresnahan, their defensive coordinator, was a step in the right direction. When you look at this team going to the playoffs, this is probably going to be the area that has to step up. A lot of people focus on their run defense. I think that's part of it. I actually think their scoring defense and being consistent throughout the game is the area they're going to have to be best at. And let me show you the areas that they were been very good at but not consistent at. Down in the red zone against the Ravens in their first matchup. Cincinnati against this balanced formation with two wide receivers on each side are just going to be in what they call red 2. That's two deep safeties. A middle linebacker is deep to take away the middle to allow those safeties to widen. Now, the discipline of the linebacker is important. Why does he turn that way? Here's why. There's 3 wide receivers to that side. The middle linebacker always turns to the 3 wide receiver side. The back dictated that. Now you have 4 defenders covering 2 potential wide receivers. The other side, 3 defenders covering just 2 wide receivers. So the quarterback stays to that side. The corner route's important. The safety oftentimes gets too deep. Great job here of settling in the end zone and being able to play the corner route. Deltha O'Neal, the corner, doing a great job of really putting himself in position to play both routes, forcing the quarterback to make almost a perfect throw. And if it's not a perfect throw, it's an incompletion. This isn't a particular play. They played perfect. They played in the red zone. That's the area they've got to be more consistent at if there's to win in the playoffs and move on.
Well, we know the Bengals' defense is adequate. We know their offense is awesome. And I have really enjoyed watching this offense grow throughout the season. Watching Carson Palmer grow as a quarterback throughout the season. Over the last 4 games, the evolution of their no-huddle offense has had a huge impact on them. In fact, breaking down the last 4 games, 77 out of 258 snaps, no-huddle, that's 30% of the time. You know, I mean, that's a lot of no-huddle offense. That's Peyton Manning-like. Now, 38 passes, 68% complete, Sal, 4 touchdowns, 39 runs, 5.9 per rush. You see this offense grow. You now see a weapon they have with that no huddle where they can dictate matchups.
I've heard you talk about another quarterback who has matured this year, Matt Hasselbeck. So let's look at the Seattle Seahawks. Behind Sean Alexander, they've won 9 straight, scored 83 points in the last 2 games. But it's about Matt Hasselbeck and whether this offense as a whole is ready for the postseason. Do you believe that it is?
Absolutely. You know, I've been singing the praise of Matt Hasselbeck and this Seattle offense for 2 years now, not only this year. I'm not a bandwagon jumper like Hodge, you know. He just jumps on the guy that's hot all the time. This has been a good offense. That's right, it is. And you look at this offense, the balance throughout this season. 426 runs, 426 passes. They have the balance you need to go deep in the playoffs and maybe to the Super Bowl. But a guy that I really enjoy watching each week when I break down the tape is Matt Hasselbeck. And if you look at this Seattle offense, in the passing game, they average 7.46 yards per pass attempt. That is number 3 in the NFC. And they don't really have that explosive weapons. But what Matt Hasselbeck can do is manipulate the defense to allow Seattle to get those explosive plays. On this 2nd and 21 from Seattle's game-winning drive against the Giants, New York played cover 2, with safety Jabril Wilson as the deep half player to the 2 receiver side. Both receivers, DJ Hackett and Bobby Engram, ran vertical routes into Wilson's zone. Engram attacked Wilson to the inside, while Hackett threatened him to the outside. At the snap, both receivers got a clean release, quickly approaching Wilson unimpeded. And Wilson was the key for Matt Hasselbeck. If the safety stayed wide to cover Hackett, the ball would go to Engram down the seam. If Wilson stayed inside, Matt would throw it to Hackett up the sideline. Wilson turned to Ingram, and Hasselbeck made the correct throw to Hackett for a 38-yard gain that set up the game-winning field goal. What was most impressive was that Hasselbeck dictated Wilson's reaction. At the top of his drop, Matt stared down the middle and cocked his body in the direction of Ingram. This subtle body language manipulated Wilson to the inside and opened up Hackett on the sideline. This play was just one example of Hasselbeck's command of his offense and his ability to manufacture big plays without the benefit of an explosive wide receiver.
To get all the way to the Super Bowl, though, you have to have a good football team, and the Seattle Seahawks defense has always been somewhat in question, but they lead the NFL in sacks, and they do it with a variety of people, and I like that. I like that better than just a dominant pass rusher, because you can always take care of a dominant pass rusher, but when you don't know who's coming and where they're coming from, which Seattle's very good at, makes them hard to defend.
But I think people will remain skeptical until Seattle wins a playoff game, which they haven't done since Ronald Reagan was president.
Throw them under the bus,
Coming up next, the game of the week, the Chargers and the Colts.
13 in a row, meeting all the challenges. Okay, we want to keep going. We want to keep getting better from here.
In Jacksonville last week when I saw this touchdown pass, Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison, I thought, man, that was just too easy, schoolyard easy. Woo. But obviously, if you're that wide open, it's by design, and with the Colts, it's never simple, Jaws. This is where we send you inside the film room, powered by IBM.
I like it, Sal. And, I am sensing, a quarterback-heavy show here today. Of course, we are down the stretch. We all know the heartbeat of a football team is the quarterback, so we focus on the quarterback down the stretch. And, when we think of quarterbacks, you think number one of Peyton Manning. And when you think of the Colts offense, you think of this offense as an execution of style offense. And no one in the National Football League executes the offense better than Peyton Manning. When Peyton Manning was watching tape in preparation for Jacksonville, he came across this play from the 3rd week of the season. Jaguars corner Rashean Mathis was in single coverage on Justin McCarons, who was running a deep out. Mathis was extremely aggressive executing his coverage, never getting out of his back pedal. This technique left Rashean in position to jump McCarron's out route and intercept the pass. 11 weeks later, against Jacksonville, Manning recalled Mathis's interception and changed the play at the line of scrimmage specifically to attack the corner's aggressive tendency. There's Mathis, aligned over Marvin Harrison. Again, he was in single coverage, just as he was on McCarron's. Manning called for Harrison to run a stop and go, a double move that could result in an explosive play if Mathis bit on the first move. Peyton's recollection of the Week 3 interception paid off big time as Mathis again stayed in his back pedal and bit on Harrison's stop move. Once Mathis took a step forward, it was over. Manning watches every play of every game that his opponent has played, processing that information instantly and applying it in critical situations is what makes him so very special.
Now, can I engage in some shameless self-promotion here?
Sure.
You don't see that in any other show where you compare a pass in the first month of the season to the last month of the season. That was brilliant.
Yeah, but that's what separates Peyton Manning from many of the quarterbacks in this league. His work habits, his study, his willingness to put the time in to become a better quarterback and understand what defenses are trying to do to him, and also the instantaneous recall. That's what really surprised me. And we look at all this tape now, and we know that Peyton does the same thing. And really, you know, if you want to make it in this league, it's not only talent, it's about wisdom as well.
Right. You know, I think Peyton is the ultimate dictator, and he dictates usually every Sunday to defenses. And Sal, you mentioned, you know, going back to tape. I mean, I had to go back to last year's matchup when they faced the San Diego Chargers, because the San Diego Charger defense, in my opinion, has the ability to dictate to Peyton Manning. And they did that for a majority of the game in the last one. Their 3-4 gives them a lot of moving parts, so they have the ability to dictate. Let me